Welcome everybody, and thanks for joining me to this conference called The 3 Macroeconomic Mistakes. So, I was driving once in my car, just immersed in this virtual reality, about to connect to this big conference call, which was supposed to be about explaining reality. To be honest, I was just running late. I was connecting through my phone, and I just turned off the camera because if not, everybody would see that I was still driving and running late. So even though all that was happening and I was just in the middle of traffic jams and just trying to get quickly to my house again, I realized and had an aha moment. And it wasn't, curiously, about the content of the presentation, but about all the conversations and chats happening before and after the event itself. Because people were talking about the exact same issues. They were talking about the government policies and what they thought about. They were talking about their worries about their cash flows and about their companies. And people were just chatting about their life savings and being worried about it. And so I said, of course, we're all concerned about the same exact issues. We know what will happen with the economy, with our companies, with our budgets, and with our pocket. So I realized then that I had to bring some way and some model to explain what was going on. And so, after listening to these guys, I just thought I need to bring all the knowledge I have in macroeconomics so I can bring a model easy to understand and in a language easy to comprehend for most of the people. So I came up with these 3 concepts, which is at the end a macroeconomic model, which does not involve any graph and does not involve any number and does not involve any formula. So I will explain you 3 concepts that will allow understand our reality and what's going on, which is a problem you and me, we all have at this precise moment. So I wanted to tell you that thanks to this model, I was able to turn out my company and take advantage of some opportunities. I was able to predict the currency rates I was struggling with, talking about Mexican peso and the US dollar as the strongest currency in the world. Then I was able to inject foreign funding, taking advantage of some opportunities in the market, and I was able to make some unique investments which gave me a good profit and which I want to share with all of you. So in the following 30 minutes, I want to talk to you about understanding a system. It is important to understand a system, to then question it, and then take advantage of some good opportunities we'll have as entrepreneurs. So what everybody else is gonna tell you is about a graph or a number or some jargon which will be complex to understand. I, on the other hand, I'm offering you in an easy language, in a universal, conceptual manner of explaining, an easier way to understand and take concrete call to actions and strategic measures for your business and your pocket. So let me start talking to you about the macroeconomic concepts that I want to introduce you at this precise moment. So the first one is monetarism. So monetarism consists basically on the trend that governments are into right now, which is just printing money with non-stop and no limits. Yes, so with the argument of saving the economy or rescuing the world from the pandemic scenario, just every government in the world is printing money in the name of economic stimulus. But what's going on and what's wrong there and why is that a mistake is that the world owes itself 3.5 times its production. Let me rephrase this again because I know this is a tough one to understand, but the world has a debt 350% greater than its production. So there's no way that all of us can pay ourselves because production is running just shorter because thanks to the data that we have of the World Commerce Organization, we know that production is running down, and on the other hand, debt is growing at a ridiculously fast pace because governments are just in this struggle of reactivating economies, but in the wrong way. So if there's no way that we can repay the debt, but governments are insisting on printing money, what's going to happen? Well, we may not be experts on economics, but we do know that offering and demand laws imply that the more we have from one product, then less its value will be in the future. And so let me give you some hard data about this phenomena. So the United States government printed 25% of all the existing US dollar in history just in 2020. So during last years, 1 out of every $4 was brought in the economy, and that number does not consider the new stimulus that was negotiated by Joe Biden, which will add $2 billion more to the economy. So if there's so much money in the world, then how can we rely on the economic and currency system more? Governments are just bringing money into the economy with no direct impact on growth. And well, that's a big issue, and that's why another systems are emerging, such as the cryptocurrency system and ecosystem. And I'm not here to talk about the Bitcoin pricing or change of value, but for me it's really important to understand that the cryptocurrency system has come in to stay because of one reason. It's a system that cannot be manipulated by any government. Money cannot be printed out in the cryptocurrency world. It creates itself self-regulated through algorithms that regulate themselves through offering and demand laws. It is not controlled by any sphere of influence of people, and it is not determined by any government or specific person in the world. So we have a system which operates all year long, not depending on countries, not depending on governments, not depending on frontiers, that cannot be manipulated and cannot be interfered or confiscated. So this is a big thing because people started to get into the cryptocurrency world, but now companies have understood that the usual currency system is being put in danger because of this money printing wave and big wave. And so that's why companies such as MicroStrategy or Tesla are just investing their treasuries and their corporate money into these instruments, not because of the pricing of the asset, but because the system itself that cannot be manipulated. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, but it's important to understand that the trend of the currency system of owing more money to each other, which at the end remains in the same debtor countries and in the same central banks, cannot go on forever of, okay, so I don't have money, so let me print more money. Okay, so I cannot pay debt, let me print more debt so I can pay my previous debt. That is just not sustainable, and that's why other systems are emerging, and the cryptocurrency world is the tip of the iceberg and what has come here to stay as a new paradigm. So it's important to understand it. There's a second concept I wanted to talk to you about, which is related to the first, of course, which I call the capital loop. And listen to this one because it's a really interesting one. So there's more money than businesses in the market. I will rephrase it again, as this is a tough one as well. So the most profitable way of investing your money is in more money, in other financial instruments. So as there is an excess of cash in the market because of the previous monetarism policy, we have all this big money which is looking for places to be invested in. And the most profitable places to invest money is money itself. This means another financial instruments. Why is that? Because investing in other businesses in other countries is getting riskier because governments are getting in more debt, so they're getting politically unstable, they're raising taxes and they're raising regulations. So when you get to that chain of more regulation, riskier panorama, riskier currency evaluation and all that stuff, coming together brings to a complicated scenario when it comes to investing. So only big companies will be able to attract big money. So then what do pension funds do? What do government funding do? What do people do? Well, as it's getting riskier to invest in businesses, you have basically two other options. Either to invest in fixed income assets or in the stock markets. right? So the debt income markets, it's at a really low price because at the end governments are trying to reactivate economy. And so when you try to buy debt from any country, interest rates will be really low because governments don't want you to save money but to spend money so economy can be reactivated. So the other option is stock markets. Stock markets do bring you an opportunity of getting high yields, and people, as usual, they will go to the safer markets so they can get high yields in a relatively safe way. So you want high rates of returns and you want a safe country to invest in. That's why big stock markets such as the S&P and Nasdaq are in all-time highs. And the reason, it's not any fundamental. I mean, we're in one of the biggest crises in history because of this pandemic, but stock markets are partying and in all-time highs. But this is the explanation. All this excess of the money is going directly to that stock market trend so they can get good interest yields, and all the money has, because there's no many places to invest in, so there's an excess of capital going precisely to those instruments. So that is not a good thing in the system. That's a mistake because money should be invested in productive economy, so countries could be developing way faster or building more infrastructure or creating real jobs, but instead they're being invested in speculative economy. Moreover, that brings opportunities for you entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs can have really good opportunities to attract money for their businesses and to invest in the stock markets and get good interest yields. So yes, take advantage of those opportunities. Investing in risky assets, it's a good thing in the following years because this all collapse will not happen soon. So it's a good timing to invest in risk assets. And if you are a company that wants to scale up, it is the precise and correct timing to scale up your business. If you do well the part of having a good corporate governance structure and you target to become this size-wise business to attract foreign money, it is simply the best timing to do that. So go for it and go for that timing. Right now, I did that for my business because all that money at the end cannot go 100% to the stock market. So businesses in other countries, especially in developing countries with high yields, they will attract foreign funding. It's the best time to scale up a business because there's more money than business in the market. So go for it, my friends. And well, the third dilemma I wanted to talk to you about, and the third issue and mistake in the nowadays economy, it's called the taxation dilemma. And it is a dilemma for this reason. So, governments are printing money. It's not for free. If you print money today, next generations will have to pay for it. So, you have monies today, you'll have to pay it tomorrow. So, every check we're getting as we're not working, every tax we are deferring or not paying, or every loan the government is getting into just to do whatever stimulus they want to do, our children and grandchildren will need to pay for it. And this is not functional for governments because actually if governments raise taxes in an already big taxation economy, that does not bring them as popular governments. So especially Western economies, we already have a really high interest rate in our economies, which varies between 30 and 70% of net income of people and companies. So we're already paying a lot of taxes. And we are not becoming precisely way more productive as we are at the end in the middle of a crisis. So this taxation brings governments to do less public spending, less infrastructure, and that means less quality of living and less potential of producing more. So why governments do with this dilemma? They want to keep their people happy, but they cannot invest heavily in infrastructure because there's not enough money. But they do have some money, and so they will try to tax you more. So governments basically are giving direct spending subsidies and just giving money directly to people, which is not productive investments. And that's why we're having clashes in many countries and polarization in many countries. Because inequality is just getting bigger because there are no programs in public policy to make countries develop in a more fair way. Just the same people are paying more taxes, and the money remaining is going to the debt service, and the remaining is going just to direct spending with no development for more equality or wealth distribution, just subsidize. And so governments will continue to do that because as they continue to raise taxes, they want to keep at least some subsidized and direct spending to win the next election. So that's why there's a dilemma between the governments. And so we can expect as citizens clashes between government and the private sector, and all these laws trying to tax more people because governments need more money. That's why all this financial regulation and taxation around the world are going to pressure investors just to pay their taxes properly in time. So you should pay your taxes in time, but you should also question what governments are doing, because we need to spend correctly the taxes, because if not, everything will go just to debt service that will be not payable anyway. So let me just rephrase what we've been talking about so far. So we are talking about 3 mistakes on the economy that are affecting our daily lives, and as you can see, your company and your pocket, because it has implications. So having a lot of money in the market in excess, that will bring in danger your own country's currency, because printing money leads to inflation and undervaluation of the currency. So that mistake is leading people to look for alternative assets, not only as person, but as companies and as governments, and that's why we're going to see all this in the system. And another problem is that all this excess of cash we have that we will need to pay for the future is being invested in the speculative economy because it's profitable, because you have a lot of money going to the same stock markets, so it's bringing good yields, which is an opportunity for people, but at the same time, we are losing this opportunity to invest in the real world and help real businesses to grow. But if you're a business that actually wants to grow and wants to scale up, today is the best time to do it. And thirdly, you have to be careful with your legacy, your heritage, and your savings, because governments are going to tax more, are going to demand more, and they're gonna affect indirectly the quality of life of their citizens, as taxation just usually, when it comes to pay debt service, it prevents public spending to bring a better development to the country. So do expect squeezer actions in the government, so do expect tougher measures in terms of government spending and taxation, and you'll need to take some measures about that. So let me finish up with a story at the end, because I want to be really honest in you in some situations, and at the end I'm inviting you to question the system so you can be able to take some decisions around it. So I come from a Jewish origins family. And Jewishness is all about rituals, mainly. So I saw once my grandparent just put this stripe of fur in his arm, which is called tefillin. So I just went and asked my grandparent, so why do you do that? What's that for? And so he told me, okay, listen, son. If you put this on your arm, you'll have a better day and a brighter future. Just do that and you'll see. That didn't make sense for me, and of course I didn't do it. But then, as many years passed, and actually my grandparent passed away, I started to understand some things beneath the system. So it turns that this stripe was about connecting to your origins. It represented a connection to your people and then to who you are. And then the ritual, it wasn't a ritual only, by itself. It was about a prayer. And praying means being thankful to someone, being aware of what you have, and visualizing yourself in the near future so you can actually plan out who you want to be and how that's gonna happen. So that's what brings change. So I'm inviting you to question the system and do not follow rules or system just because you don't understand the system or doesn't belong to your sphere of influence. Macroeconomics matter, and they matter for all of us, for our countries as citizens, for our businesses in terms of cash flows and operations, and in our pockets in terms of our savings and legacy. So I'm inviting you to understand the system and question it as a responsible citizen and global citizen, actually, because we need to make our world better. And we need to start questioning what's going on and all these mistakes to turn around and just to start being a better person. It's our responsibility. I'm inviting you then to understand, take action, and do concrete call to actions for your future. So picture a day when you're sitting and being able to predict what's going to happen with the global economic policy of your country and act to be prepared for that. Picture a day when a friend asks you, I don't know what's going on or what's going to happen with the economy, and being able to respond and orient him a little bit at least. Picture a day sitting with your family in your home, talking to them about these issues, and be able to protect them by taking action and to secure their financial future. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.